Thurstons No Ale.
Life is too short to be drinking shitty beer.
Welcome to another edition of Bands, Bikes and Booze Reviews. I've got one here today from the Thurstons Brewery, and they're based in a place called Woking in Surrey, the most boring county in the country. And I know this because my sister lives there and I've stayed there. There is fuck all to do there. Not too far from Woking as it goes. Anyway, let's not make enemies of the People's Republic of Surrey. I've got enough enemies as it is. This is their bottle conditioned no ale, and this is their Christmas drink. Now it is now towards the end of January 2021, so I'm a bit late to the party with this one. I got this from BThe Europe and it was on offer. It's bottle conditioned. I could probably keep this and it would be good for next year as well. What's the best before date? I don't get why brewers do best before dates on bottled conditioned beer. Oh, look at this, look. Oh, it's August. I thought that was a 1. Fucking hell. My eyes.
I'll remember that.
Jesus, my eyes. What have we got here? Yeah, it's their winter warmer Christmas beer. You know the caper. And it's from the Thurstons Brewery. I have never tried one from them before. This is the first one. They've been going since 2012. As I say, they are based in Woking in Surrey. And they're based in a pub called The Crown, which is in a place called Horsell. I don't think I've been there, but I think it's a suburb of, or an area of Woking. They're pretty traditional in their outlook, even though they've been going since 2012. They're not inundated with craft beer. I think they actually brew the beer in the pub on a very small scale. Whether you can get this stuff up north, debatable. Certainly you can get it in the local area, but you do tend to find with these small breweries, it's really hard to get hold of the stuff. If you want a comparison, the Cropton Brewery, or whatever they're called now, is it C84, what they've called themselves? I had real problems trying to get that stuff. But if you really want to get it, you can. So that's my advice. Anyway, let's stop gassing and let's investigate this beer. Right, it is a 500ml bottle. It is 4.4%. Now, the brew sheet on this is really interesting because it contains the Bramling Cross hop and Challenger hop, which are two fantastic British hops. Very common in British styles of beer, specifically bitter, and these strong red ales. Oh no, this isn't strong. This is a 4.4. So if anything, it's a session ale really. But the malt is interesting. It's got crystal malt and it's got Munich malt in it as well. If they've used Munich malt as the base malt, that would be interesting. But I don't think they have. They probably put a pale malt, but just haven't advertised it. What does it say on the back? It says, this is our Christmas tipple, a chestnut coloured beer with a reddish hue. Munich and crystal malt give this beer a full body, while Challenger and Bramling Cross hops add spice and berry flavours and nose a perfect Christmas pint. Bottle conditioned beers are matured by secondary fermentation in the bottle. Active yeast is in this bottle, which will gradually add natural carbonation. Honestly, I'm fucking terrible at reading out loud. For better results, store in an upright position before you are ready to drink. Serve slightly chilled or at room temperature. This is a little above slightly chilled, but when it gets into the glass, it may warm up a little bit. Pouring slowly into the glass to avoid disturbing the sediment. I never do that. I always pour the sediment in. I think that's something from the drinking Weiss beer for so long. I think the yeast does add a little bit of flavour to it. Some people say to, especially in British beers, they say to leave that in if it's a bottle conditioned beer, but I never do. And to be honest, I don't think it does any harm. Anyway, let's get this open. Right, cap is just plain green. It's like a bottle green cap, if you like. There you go. What are you getting in ye olde glass? This glass could be dirty. There was all sorts of shenanigans going on last night with the dishwasher. Honestly, I had to take everything out. It was a fucking full-on job. I was on it for half an hour. It just wouldn't work for some reason. I got it working in the end, but yeah, it's, I don't know what's happening to it. Could be on its last legs. Who knows? One thing I will say, the shape of this bottle, I've heard tell that it's shaped like this to try and stop the sediment from going into the glass, but how true that is, I do not know. I'm trying to give that a little bit of an aggressive pour, but there's a lot of carbonation in it, as they said. Oh, when they said berries, they were not joking. Wow, that really is, it's like blackcurrant. Really strong, fruity aromas there. This does smell really nice. It doesn't smell like an artificial, like the fruit juice that's been added. This is like, you know, it's got that rustic, earthy note to it as well. And there's a little bit of the crystal malt. You can get some sweetness, sweet malt coming through that, sweet caramel malt. This does smell really good, I have to say. And look, there's the yeast. So that's probably going to add even more to it. Nice and cloudy. Looks like a murky brown colour. And I can see the yeast falling to the bottom. It's floaters, not floating.
I don't care who's in it, it's floating.
Wow, that sweet berry aroma is pretty big. And it's very nice. Let's get it down the hatch. Bottoms up. Quite nice. Fair bit of, I'm picking it up as toffee malt. I don't know whether adding the yeast has done anything to that perception. But it does come across as toffee. Very full bodied. They definitely got that right. It's a cross between caramel and toffee. Big fruit, berries. That's the thing. Like blackcurrant. A little bit of raspberry in there as well. It's like, you know, forest fruits. That type of flavour, but there's a lovely bit of earthiness and spiciness on the finish that's coming from the Challenger hop, and it's a real nice one. That is good. I do like that. Now this is cold. Should I let it warm up? That is the question. I think I should. I think this is just above chilled, and I don't know, I think it's perhaps a little bit too cold. I've been drinking a lot of German beer, and you know, the Helles and the Pilsners and the Weiss beers as well, and they've been coming out quite cold. Very nice. It's still getting all the flavours. I think this needs to, I wouldn't say warm up, but the temperature needs to rise a little bit to get some more of them flavours. I'm going to leave this for a bit and I'll come back to you, because I don't think I'm going to be doing it justice if I drink it at this temperature. It's just that little bit too cold. Don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of flavours, but I want to get everything, if you know what I mean. So I shall be back presently. Right, well, it's warmed up a little bit now, and The head has dissipated a little touch, so let's dive in again. That is good. Malt's coming through now. Hell of a lot more, and that's very full bodied. I'm picking that up as toffee malt, and I'm getting more of the hop character come through now. There is quite a lot of spicy bitterness on the finish, but it's really nice. There is a really subtle sourness to this. It's very subtle. I'm sure it's coming from the yeast that I've poured in there, so it's probably not meant to taste like that. If you was drinking this on draft, I don't think you'd get that. I've put all that in there, and it isn't bad. You know, I love sour beer, but it is there. So if you pour all the sediment in there, you may pick up a subtle bitterness and sourness. I like it. It's not bad. It's not amazing, don't get me wrong, but it's very agreeable, and that's sessionable too, so I could probably drink a fair amount of that. Good. What's the verdict on Thurstons No Ale? Well, no ale, I'm assuming that's a pun or a play on words with no ale. It's really nice. I do like that. It's got a different character when you drink it quite, well, I won't say quite warm, but at room temperature. You get a lot more flavours. That's gone down to room temperature now, or cellar temperature, I should say. When I say room temperature, I don't mean warm. I mean cellar temperature, which has got a really slight chill in it. And it's nice. It's got a lovely bit of finish on it from them hops. There is a fair bit of, I'm bordering on caramel malt on this, and a nice bit of fruit as well, but the aromas when I first had a sniff on it, that was just fruit, berries, massive berries, and they do say that on the back, but yeah, that really does come through. The spice really wasn't coming through at all, but when you take a mouthful, you don't get much of that berry flavour. It's more of the spice, the big caramel malt, and it's good. I do like that. That is going to get, I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. And now that might sound a little bit harsh, but it's not amazing. It's not outstanding. It's quite sessionable, and the flavours are there, but I just don't think it's not bowling me over, if you know what I mean. And with Christmas beers, I mean, these big malty style beers, seasonal beers that they have, they're usually really good, and that is good, don't get me wrong, but there is a lot better out there in my opinion. But it's okay, it isn't bad. If you're in Surrey and you know about this brewery, then you know what that is. But if you're in Surrey and you want an half decent beer around Christmas time that you can session as well, if we ever do get back into pubs, then this is not a bad option. So I'm going to give it 7.5 out of 10, and I'll recommend it. And remember, beer is working class champagne.